All right, what is going on, Laker fans? Thank you very much for tuning in. Off-season edition here, Thursday, May 30th. I think there's going to be some action picking up. I believe there'll be some action picking up with the Lakers, at least over the next couple of weeks. Look, you got to get a coach, got to figure out the roster. What are they going to do with Bronny? We got a lot of stuff going on. Want to welcome in guests for today's show, Trevor Lane, the Lakers Nation. Trev, what's going on, brother? Thank you for coming on.
Hey, Alan, thank you for having me on. Excited to talk some Lakers with you. And yeah, I think you're right. I think it's we're hitting that time of the year where
Come on.
it's about to pick up.
If you're not playing, well, then you got to figure there's other stuff going on. So I think we're not too far away from that starting. But as always, brother, I appreciate you joining the show. For those who are watching right now, obviously we're recording this. Please subscribe to the channel right here on Hoops Talk. Of course, Trevor Lane, Lakers Nation. You could subscribe there as well. Okay, Trev, I'm going to start with this because I feel like I'm supposed to start with this, even though I feel like I already kind of have an answer of what's going to happen here. Lakers still do not have a head coach. We saw yesterday that Ty Lue signed an extension for $70 million to remain the head coach of the Los Angeles Clippers, or around $70 million. It's kind of funny. I feel like a lot of some of these coaches out there, remember when the Lakers were originally eliminated, it was like, hey, they got some interest in Jason Kidd. Dallas is like, cool, so why don't we just sign him to an extension? There was obviously rumors around Ty Lue as well. I had Dave McMenamin on about a week and a half ago, and we were talking. He's like, look, don't take Ty Lue's name out of the picture. Until he is officially out of the picture, don't take him out of the picture. He's now officially out of the picture. Thoughts? I just want to get your thoughts on where we're sitting here with the coaching search for the Lakers. And if it is JJ Redick, the way many people think it's going to be JJ Redick, unless you have a different angle on this one. What's your thoughts if it is JJ?
Yeah, so I mean, not a surprise that Ty Lue's off the board. I think that had he been available, the Lakers would have immediately done everything they could to get him. Obviously didn't play out that way. And we knew it was probably going to go that way. When the coach and the team are both saying they want to stay together and they want an extension done and all that, it typically gets done. And so it did. So now the Lakers can fully focus on the options in front of them. And I do think it's probably going to wind up being JJ Redick, despite the various reports that are coming out. Like you had Woj yesterday saying they're nowhere close. They're nowhere close to making a decision. No, really, everybody. They really haven't decided. Well, they're also bringing in other guys for interviews at the time. It's probably not ideal to bring in guys for interviews when everybody knows that you're probably going to wind up hiring JJ Redick. But I do think that's ultimately the way it's going to go. It's probably going to be JJ, for better or for worse. I think it's a gamble. I mean, let's just call it what it is. It's a gamble if you're going to hire a head coach that is such an unknown, a guy who's never coached before. And I kind of wonder if to some degree we're looking at this and we're excited about the basketball mind that JJ Redick is, and we're not, some Lakers fans are not acknowledging the risk inherent with this enough. We always want whatever move they make to work out. And so I've got people talking themselves into this is a great move. On the surface, Alan, when I look at this, and I know JJ Redick's a great basketball mind, I just think, man, this makes me nervous to have a coach coming into a Lakers situation that is such a pressure cooker. It might be the most difficult job in sports to bring in somebody who's never coached before. There's the chance that come March, April, we're going, what were they thinking? This was so obvious. Why would you try to put somebody who's never coached before in this position? I hope that's not the path we go down. I hope this works out. But I'm nervous, Alan, because there's a lot that goes into coaching that requires that experience. There's a reason why assistant coaches, they work under multiple head coaches. They get that experience. They build their way up before jumping into that head coach seat. I'm nervous about this one, but I sure hope it works out.
Well, I'm curious the pulse that you're getting from Laker fans. Do they feel the same way you do, or is there a lot of Laker fans like, oh, you know what? He was in the league for a long time. He went to Duke. He's doing the pod with LeBron. I mean, you know what? This is they're excited about the move because I'm with you. It's very, very difficult to have any idea how this is going to go. If you told me that JJ Redick is the next Lakers coach and he's out in 2 years, I would say, okay, that kind of has fallen exactly into play of the last 5-6 coaches that Lakers have had. I think the only surprise is, hey, he's a really good coach and he's the Lakers coach 5 years from now. That wouldn't follow the mold of what the Lakers have done over the last 13, 14 years. Do Laker fans that you interact with, do they have – it's tough to have an emotion behind it because I don't have anything to look back on with JJ Redick, which is actually why you would have some concern there. What do most people say to you?
Yeah, I mean, I as time's going on, we're getting more and more acceptance that okay, it's going to be JJ Redick, and this can be a really good thing, and it's a positive, and people want to spin it in a positive way. And I don't want to say they're the same because they're not, but the Russell Westbrook situation was kind of the same thing where we initially it was Russell Westbrook was traded to the Lakers, and the initial thought was even before the trade happened was, well, Russ and LeBron and AD, they don't really fit together. And then once the trade happened, we all kind of talked ourselves into, oh, okay, well, talent is going to outweigh fit, and this is going to work, and we can ignore the stuff that was, hitting us over the head, the red flags, and obviously that went horrifically. I mean, it was one of the worst trades in the history of sports, not just basketball, but sports in terms of what it did to this team. So I'm wary of ignoring the red flags at this point. I've got that kind of built-in fear of ignoring situations like
You've
that.
Been scarred. You've been
I'm
scarred.
Trevor. The pain is still there. It's real, Alan. So there are some similarities I see in the situations where we're starting to ignore some of the red flags and just accept that it's going to be JJ, and we're thinking optimistically, which we should. That's fandom, right? You want to think optimistically about your team, and I think you're right. The upside is you get, what do we heard? The next Pat Riley. You get that guy. I hope it works great. And JJ Redick is the coach for the next 10 years. I just think when you take a step back and you look at the situation and you think, forget the names that are available, what kind of coach would you want for this Lakers team given the situation they're in right now? You'd want a seasoned coach with championship experience, somebody who knows how to win. Right now, there's not going to be a bunch of bumps in the road. They're not going to make mistakes mid-game because they're learning or anything like that. You need somebody who can get the job done immediately. And now you're going and hiring somebody who's never coached before. That's more what you see kind of a rebuilding team do, right? Bring in a guy who can grow with the team and all that sort of stuff. So that's where I've got a little bit of concern, but I don't want to come across overly negative either. I think it's entirely possible JJ Redick could just be that guy that is such an incredible basketball mind that all the other stuff doesn't matter. It's just a big ask. And like I said, a big gamble by the Lakers if that's the path they go down.
I think it's fair. I think your hesitation is completely fair. I mean, I think, like I said, if you said, hey, one of the two scenarios, I play this on the radio all the time. I say, all right, hey, you got $100. Which one do you think is more likely to pan out? That you put $100 that JJ Redick is the next coach in the league, or you put $100 on, hey, that didn't work out with the Los Angeles Lakers, and in 3 years he's gone. I'd probably go with the stats. The stats would tell me, the history would tell me. Again, I like your comp too of saying usually you bring in a coach that has not had that experience. Typically it's because you're Luke Walton and it's like, look, let's give him a chance to grow. He's going to come in here. Yeah, he has assistant coach experience, but now he could come in with the Lakers with all these young players and they're going to grow together. Something along those lines, but that certainly is not the case. And frankly, I think this is obviously the gamble the Lakers are taking. It feels like these last couple years, every year has been a gamble. Every year that you have LeBron James, another year, as great as he's been, certainly is a gamble in the sense that just his age. I got no idea how the Lakers will do if JJ Redick is the next coach. I do know that the challenge in front of them, that hill only looks steeper to climb when you look at the Western Conference, when you look at the age, when you look at, okay, how many games do you think AD and LeBron are going to play next year? So I think there's a lot of things that come into play there. So I don't think you're coming off as negative. I actually think you're coming off as real. And I think it's difficult sometimes to put your fandom to the side and say, okay, well, what do I really think is going to happen? And I think probably more people feel your way. That it doesn't mean that you can't be like, all right, well, if he becomes the coach, let's see what happens. But I get the hesitation. I think it makes all the sense in the world to have some of that hesitation.
Yeah, and like I said, I want this to be the home run move. I look at it this way, Alan, in terms of a financial sense. If a proven championship head coach, say Mike Budenholzer, let's say Mike Budenholzer wasn't with the Suns, a proven championship head coach would be the equivalent of taking your money and putting it in an FDIC insured high yield savings account. You
Yep.
know, I'm going to get a certain amount of growth with my money year over year. It's not going to explode. It's not going to suddenly, go to the moon or whatever. If that's what Budenholzer is, JJ Redick is crypto.
Can I give you? I was going to say
Right?
the JJ Redick. I thought you were going to say, I just stopped by the local casino. Hey, you know what? Red or black? Let me just.
That's right. It could be that too, right?
Who knows?
He's that gamble where, but if it pays off, if it hits, you're gonna be driving by in your Lambo, and the dude with the money in the high yield savings account is gonna be still sitting there getting his 4% or whatever. JJ Redick, again, if it works, it's gonna be great, and the Lakers are gonna have their coach forever. So
I think you just described me. I'm the 4%er at best. I'm like, you know what?
Let's just
play the long. Let's play the long game here. The Lakers are. What is it in blackjack? You're not supposed to hit at 17.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're hitting at 17. Right. Who knows? Maybe a 3 or 4 comes up. It's like, all right, yeah, or maybe a 9 comes up and it's over. But okay, I like our comps right there. Let's keep things moving here. A lot of the offseason has been about, aside from the coaching, has been the chatter around Bronny James. And I don't know if you and I'm sure that you've spent a lot of time talking about, but I don't know if you and I have had the conversation about Bronny. And I'm just curious to get your thoughts because, granted, I don't think this is going to happen. I had Eric Pincus on a couple days ago on Lakers Talk, and we were talking a little bit about, okay, what are the scenarios that can play out here? Would LeBron James really give up $50 million if the Phoenix Suns drafted Bronny? And the reason why this came up is Bronny's going to stay in the draft, and there are some teams he's going to be working out for. One of them will be the Suns. One of them will be the Lakers. Would he really give up $50 million to go play with his son? And obviously with Kevin Durant and everything else. I'm just curious, the attention that's going around Bronny, how do you think things play out with him? And when the dust settles, do you think he's a Los Angeles Laker?
I do think he's a Laker. I think the question is, what do they have to do to get him? Because it seems like the closer we get to the draft, the higher his draft stock rises. There was a point there where we were thinking, hey, he'll probably be sitting there at 55 for the Lakers to take with their second round pick. Now that doesn't seem likely. That doesn't seem like that's going to happen. He performed extremely well at the draft combine, and I think 55 is definitely his floor. Maybe Clutch Sports can do some things behind the scenes to try to make sure that he's still on the board at 55. That we've seen that happen before. But I think that ultimately the Lakers will make some kind of a move in order to draft him. The Phoenix thing, it's a lot of people jump to, well, could they trade Bradley Beal for LeBron or whatever? No. Like, you start getting into the new CBA rules, the new restrictions, it's really difficult. Essentially, the Suns and the Lakers can't trade with each other based on the new rules because they'd both be above the first tier apron. In fact, the Suns are above the second tier apron, which means they can't even combine salaries to try to work out a trade for LeBron. So it wouldn't even be a situation where they could have LeBron opt in to his $50 million and then trade him that way. You're right. LeBron would essentially, aside from something drastic happening on these rosters, he would have to take a minimum. So I do think ultimately Bronny will wind up with the Lakers. I think the Suns, do they want to put a little pressure on the Lakers? Probably, but 22 still feels awfully high to select Bronny in this draft. So I'd be surprised if they did that unless they felt like they could really get LeBron James, and LeBron's already kind of made it known through his camp that, hey, drafting Bronny does not mean you're getting me. I can only imagine where Bronny would get drafted if it was the other way. If it was draft Bronny and I will go to whichever team drafts him, oh my gosh, that would be chaos. But that's not the world we're going to live in. So I do think the Lakers ultimately wind up with him. I think they're probably going to have to move up in the second round to get him, though. And I think they will, because I think they're very committed to keeping LeBron James and making him happy and giving him whatever kind of contract he wants. And just, regardless of how many times LeBron says, I don't have to play with Bronny now, that's kind of been the message that's been put out. I still think they're going to try to make it happen.
Do you agree with it? Do you agree with the cater to whatever he wants? I've made this argument a few times on radio that I think the Lakers have given him, if we're playing poker, and if you and I are going to continue to play our card games and gambling and everything else, we'll just continue our analogies here when it comes to that. But if we're playing poker, I think the Lakers hold a lot of cards. I really do. And I don't think they realize that, or I think they're too scared to even think of the idea that LeBron James is going to go somewhere else. I don't think LeBron's going to go anywhere. I just don't. And if Bronny James is not a Laker, I don't think all of a sudden he's going to follow Bronny James to Charlotte, or you pick whatever market that you want. I don't believe so. I think the Lakers, for some reason, feel like they got no leverage in this thing. Do you agree that if they move up, or if they do, like you just said, just accommodating everything to LeBron, do you agree with this strategy? And do you agree that LeBron does have all the leverage and the Lakers basically have no say?
So I think that if we were looking at this from a team perspective, I don't know if the Lakers have that much leverage, because there are some real threats out there. Like if LeBron said, hey, the Lakers are not doing what I want them to do, I'm out, Philly would say, come on down. Let's go. Team up with Embiid, team up with Maxey. Like, there are other options out there that can pay LeBron that he could potentially jump to. And the fact that there are credible threats out there, that adds obviously leverage to LeBron's side. But you also look at it from the Lakers side of things. What happens if LeBron leaves, right? Let's just say if the Lakers if that's the threat, that, hey, LeBron, we know you're not going anywhere. We know you're not going to really leave. So we're going to ask you to take less. We're not going to give you the kind of contract that you want. We're not going to draft Bronny, anything like that. If you decide to go down that path, and that's your threat, that, hey, we're going to be okay if you leave, what happens if he leaves? Number one, from a business side, you lose millions upon millions upon millions of dollars, right? Both in terms of just the spotlight on the team, the attention to on the squad, the butts and seats.
Our channels are done.
Right. No, no, we were around before LeBron.
Damn right we were. Damn right we were.
But you lose a lot there, right? You lose a lot without LeBron. Merchandise sales.
KCP was our best player back in the day, and I'm like, I'm still doing a freaking video.
We were praying for Lonzo Ball and Brandon Ingram to turn into the next big thing, right? That was the world we were living in. But from a team perspective, what happens then? If LeBron suddenly says, that's it, I'm out, how far off from that is an Anthony Davis trade request? Does AD look around and go, well, damn, I don't want to be here if LeBron's not here. What's on this team? Jared Vanderbilt's gonna score 20 points a night for me? And it's not like that opens up a bunch of flexibility for the Lakers if LeBron were to walk away. Under the cap right now, they'd have like $10-11 million in salary cap space. It's not like they suddenly become this big player on the free agent market. So I think that would be a pretty tough path to walk down at this point if you're the Lakers and you lose LeBron.
Can I just say this, Trev? I'm not saying be unreasonable to LeBron. I'm saying if LeBron wants a 3-year deal, but you're on the LeBron, we want to go 2. Like let's do 2, and hey, we're going to try to draft Bronny, but we also have to be responsible. We can't move up X amount, like the deals that are out there for us to try to move up. Just, they're not smart. They don't make sense. I'm not saying that they're telling LeBron, we're not going to listen to LeBron. Listen, they have, and I know some people make the argument out there, well, have they really listened to LeBron? They didn't make a trade at the trade deadline. They didn't go get Ty Lue back in the day when they had that opportunity to do it. I understand they haven't done everything for LeBron James, but I also realize, I'm not saying be unreasonable to LeBron. Be very reasonable. I get it. You're right. Crypto getting sold out and the merchandise that comes, and LeBron is still, whether you want to look at Shea and Luka and go through all the great young NBA players in the league, LeBron sells, period. And he's still the most powerful member of the NBA. teamed up with the most powerful franchise in the NBA. It's a powerful marriage. Let's put it that way. But I guess the point that I'm trying to make is there a point where you say, Bron, we're not willing to do that as well? And I don't know if the Bronny thing that we just mentioned, you gotta trade up to go draft Bronny at, you pick the number, whatever it is. It's late in the first round. It's early in the second round. Is there a point where you say, no, we don't want to do that?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, sure. There's a point where you say, hey, look, we need you to be a partner here in this and give a little bit as well. And I think there absolutely is. If it becomes like, hey, the only way you're getting Bronny is to draft him at 17, where you say, we can't do that, man. We can't burn the 17th pick on him. We know he's going to spend most of his season in the G League. We need that pick in order to do this stuff. And I think that's the key, that last part there, Ellen. It's, if you are going to say, hey, LeBron, we're not going to do this, it's got to be followed with, because we're going to do this and this. Like, for example, if you're going to say, hey, LeBron, listen, we can't give you that full max. We're going to ask you to take $5 million less, because that's going to open up the MLE for us, and we're going to get this guy. This guy's going to be coming in. And that's where the partnership comes into play. Look, LeBron, we're not going to do this because we're going to be trying to do this and this. I think that would be the give and take in the situation, would be, look, we're trying to achieve this goal, and in going down this path, doing what you want us to do is not going to get us there, but we've got this alternative path we want to go down, and we think that's going to be the way to go. I think that's how the negotiation would need to play out. You would still need to be able to show him, this is what we're trying to do. This is how we're trying to accomplish getting to the same place that you ultimately want to get to, and that's winning a championship.
All right, so far, you and I have basically JJ Redick, we both believe will be the next head coach. Bronny, which I think is kind of interesting. You think Bronny is going to end up a Los Angeles Laker. I wonder if something just kind of weird and crazy happens and he ends up somewhere else, whether a team loves his potential, or they just want to sell some tickets and they know it's going to be a story and some attention, and they take it from there. And then obviously the LeBron scenario that we were just playing out. It's funny what you said, Philly. Philly's an interesting one. I think for LeBron, it's just going to come down to, I don't think LeBron wants to leave LA. I don't. But, you know, how much poker do you want to play with a player like that? And Philly is you can put him on that team instantly, and they become probably the favorites in the Eastern Conference with a perfect balance of Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey. And, oh, by the way, it's the Eastern Conference. I think there's also a lot of advantages of getting the hell out of the West. Keep things moving here. I'm going to play out a scenario for you. Let's say you remember this, because we all remember this. NBA trade deadline happened last year, and the Lakers didn't make a move. And I remember it vividly because that night Lakers had a game at Crypto, and Pelinka addressed the media before Darvin Ham did his regular, conversation with the media before. And I remember Pelinka saying, you can't buy a house that's not for sale. And then he goes on to say, in the summer, we're going to have 3 first-rounders. I could do a lot more with 3 first-rounders than what I had basically at the trade deadline. Okay, so Lakers didn't do anything. I think it's, very safe to say that look at some other teams that did make moves at the trade deadline. Look at the Dallas Mavericks, who are a game away from making the NBA Finals. I know that's just one example, but damn, were they able to change their team, and they didn't have to go make a blockbuster move. Is there a scenario that plays out for you that the Lakers are not able to make a blockbuster move, that the stars that they're hoping for, Donovan Mitchell ends up with the Cleveland Cavaliers, Paul George ends up anywhere but the Lakers, he stays in, with the Clippers, or maybe he goes to Philly, whatever it is, right? Is there a scenario where the Lakers decide, yeah, I'm not going to go ahead and be trading 3 first-rounders, which they cannot afford to miss on this one. I'm not trading 3 first-rounders for whatever X player that you're talking about. Do you see a scenario where they come back and they roll the ball back out, and it's basically all the same guys for the most part, and then decide, all right, if we're going to make a move, we're going to have to wait till the trade deadline again.
Yeah, I could see it. You look at the market right now. You look at okay, if Donovan Mitchell's on the market, how many teams are going to line up for Donovan Mitchell? It's going to be a lot. I mean, we're already hearing the Knicks, right? The Rockets, the Thunder. That I mean, like you've got a whole list of teams that are going to be chasing stars. So by no means are the Lakers the only game in town. Now, Donovan Mitchell were to say, "I only want to be a Laker." I don't know that he would do that, but that obviously that changes things. But I think there is a scenario where that's the case. I do think that they probably move at least one pick. They try to get something smaller done, a move along the margins. Maybe you add another big, maybe you find another wing, something like that. The D'Angelo Russell situation, that'll be interesting. It could be that the music stops and both D'Lo and the Lakers are just left looking at each other like, hey,
Sure.
I guess we're back together because there's no other options here. That's possible too. I think they'll do.
That's always a healthy relationship.
Right. That tends to go. Hey, until I can find another time to trade you, I guess we're back.
Listen, our lease doesn't end for 6 months, so let's just still live together, and then in 6 months we'll figure it out. Yeah,
that would be the situation. But no, I could see that happening. I think that there's going to be a lot of pressure on the Lakers to make a move. I think teams will probably try to take advantage of that to some degree. I think they'll make at the very least a small move. They'll do some type of move in the margins to try to get some improvement with this team. I don't know if that's the likeliest of outcomes. I think they're really going to push and do everything they can to try to do something dramatic. But we're hearing from the players. They're all saying, "Look, we didn't have a full roster all season. We felt like we were good. We just didn't have a full roster. We didn't have our guys. We were injured throughout the whole season." So there's something to not totally blowing the whole thing up. And I think if we see a situation like we saw at the trade deadline, where every trade the Lakers are involved in, teams want everything from them, because the rumors that I've heard about who they could have traded for and what the cost would have been, I mean, teams were looking to fleece the Lakers. Yeah, teams are looking to fleece the Lakers. So if it's like that again, I could see where it's a small move or two. You add a backup big, something like that, and off you go, and you're banking on consistency, and then you're waiting until the trade deadline to see if something better comes along. It's not the ideal outcome. It's not what the Lakers want, especially after you said Rob Pelinka talked about the 3 first-round picks being available to trade this summer. But it's that could be the world we're living in, depending on how the market plays out.
Yeah, there's a little bit of, I get it. I understand it. Pelinka, I think everybody knows the Lakers' position. There is a desperation to win right now. You understand how old LeBron is, but I think putting out there, hey, we got 3 first-rounders coming this summer. Everybody knows the Lakers are not in this, hey, let this thing marinate. Let's take our time. If the Denver Nuggets didn't win an NBA championship, they don't have to go into the offseason and be, they don't have to be irresponsible. And you almost feel like the Lakers, they got to roll some dice because of the situation that they're in. And, okay, so there is a scenario where the Lakers run it back. I'm with you. I do think that can happen. I'd be surprised if it happens because of how desperate they will be to try to change things. But that could be something that comes into play. Of all the players, role players the Lakers have, all the guys other than LeBron James and Anthony Davis, player or two that you're hoping, hey, when the dust settles, I'd really, really, really like to make sure that this player is still on the Lakers? Somebody stand out to you?
I mean, Austin Reeves is got to be at the top of the list. I know he's a player they value very highly. I don't, Austin wants to be a Laker. I don't think the Lakers are interested in moving him unless they're getting back a clear major upgrade to their roster, like a star, all-star caliber player. So
I'm asking for Austin, right? In any deal, I'm asking for Reeves. I'm with you. Yep.
Every team is asking for him, but if I'm the Lakers, I'm doing everything I can to keep him out of a trade. The other guy, there's been a lot about Jared Vanderbilt, Rui Hachimura. Look, teams aren't calling up the Lakers asking for Gabe Vincent. It's not happening. It's not happening. Teams are going to ask for Austin, and after that, they're going to say, "Cool, well, we need Vando. We need Vando's on a great contract. We need Rui." I would prefer to keep Jared Vanderbilt if I can. If that means having to move Rui Hachimura, it's awfully close. And I'm not thrilled about moving either guy, but the reality is if the Lakers are going to get involved in a trade, somebody has got to go out, and just looking at who's available, unless D'Angelo Russell opts in, and I don't think that's happening. If he does, okay, D'Lo probably goes out in a trade. He probably opts in order to get traded. But in lieu of that happening, I could see one of Jared Vanderbilt, one of Rui Hachimura being on the way out, and I would prioritize keeping Jared Vanderbilt in that scenario.
Yeah, I think most Laker fans knew it, but man, that playoff run, just not having, and I'm not telling you they're going to beat the Denver Nuggets if Vando's available, but just so many different players at certain times were out during the season, but Vando was one of the more consistent ones. It's like, damn, we could use a Jared Vanderbilt. The Reeves one, I think, is going to be on top of everybody's list. The Rui piece of it, man, Rui's inconsistencies, I think has some hesitation there, but you're not asking him to be the best player every single night. So I could see people that want to hold on to Rui, but Vando certainly was one that everybody thought would certainly be a part of a playoff run. Okay, final one I got for you, Trev, and I appreciate, as always, you hanging out and hopping on the show. Give me your thoughts right now. NBA playoffs, obviously the Boston Celtics have like 6 months off before they play a game. Tonight we'll get a little bit of Dallas and the Minnesota Timberwolves for Game 5. I guess the question I got for you is, A, your thoughts on this, the remaining teams left in the playoffs, and B, we already knew the West was stacked. To know that Denver doesn't even get to the Western Conference Finals and it's Dallas and Minnesota that's in it, is it even deeper than you thought?
So first, as far as the teams that are left, I mean, you said Dallas or Boston doesn't have to play a game for a week and a half. They haven't had to play a game for a few months now, right?
Yeah,
when
right.
did the regular season end? I mean, the Eastern Conference playoffs, the East just,
and they had such a lead in the East to begin with. Yeah.
It was already such a disaster of a conference. And then the playoffs started, and it only fell apart that much further. I mean, everybody standing in Boston's way got insanely injured. I thought the Knicks were the only chance, and a healthy Knicks team was the only chance to stop Boston from just essentially getting a free pass to the finals. And then they got, I mean, even Jalen Brunson breaks his hand in the final game. Just everybody has gotten hurt in the East, and the East isn't that good even when they're healthy. So unfortunately, Boston essentially had a bye straight to the finals. They didn't have to play anybody to get there. No disrespect to the Pacers. I think they're going to be a good team. I don't think they were a conference finals caliber team just yet. I think they're going to get there, but I thought this year they were there because somebody had to be there. Somebody had to be there, right? Some team was there. They were not really a conference finals caliber team. Comparing that to the West, I mean, Alan, if I'm LeBron, if I'm Paul George, if I'm any of the stars in the West that are free agents, I'm looking across and going, man, life sure is easier if you're an Eastern Conference team, because I do think the depth in the West, we've been talking about it for a couple of years now, about how this has been building, about how deep the West is going to be. I've talked about it last summer about how much of a gauntlet the Western Conference was going to be this year. And I think what you have is you have a lot of parity. You have a lot of teams in the West that are very, very similar in terms of overall quality, and matchups are going to decide who goes through, who's going to match up best with other teams. You look at 1 through, like, had the Lakers played the Thunder in round 1, I think the Lakers would have got through. It's a 1 seed versus a 7 seed. I don't think the seed matters as much as the matchup matters now in the West. And I think next year in the Western Conference, looking ahead, there could be as many as 13 playoff caliber teams, where if they were in the East, they are definitely in the playoffs. So we're talking maybe 3 teams that don't even make the play in, because I think Houston's going to get better. They're going to be in the market for a star. They're going to grow organically. The Spurs have Wemby. You get him a point guard. They're a playoff caliber team. He's just getting better and better. And then who knows what's going to happen with the Utah Jazz. So I look at the Western Conference,
the Grizzlies,
and exactly, and Memphis imploded under injuries. They're a playoff team if they're healthy.
Sure.
So the West is, it's going to be tough next year, Alan. It's a lot of parity. And that's why I look at what the Lakers have to do this summer. And the same is true of all West teams. They have to get everything right. There is just no margin for error in this ridiculous conference.
Okay. Dallas, I'm assuming, do you feel is going to finish up the series?
Yeah, I think Dallas ultimately
Okay.
gets it done. I think they're close enough to where the Wolves could put a scare in
Yeah.
them, but I think Dallas gets it done.
Okay. So now that I know that, I don't know how you feel, but I have a lot of Mavs merchandise coming in just ready
Yes.
for this finals championship. Mavs Nation. I'm going to go to every game in Dallas just to root for my new team, the Dallas Mavericks. If that's the case, I'm sure you feel the same way, and every Laker fan feels the
I'm
exact
seeing
same
people
way as
put
well.
out Dallas Mavericks logos that say like Los Angeles Mavericks, and they're in purple and gold and stuff. Yeah, I mean, look, we are all going to be behind the Mavs, no question. Whoever, if it's the Wolves, we'll be behind them too. But whoever
Yep.
it is, of course, we are going to be hoping that we can avoid that dark timeline and not let those goons in green get that title.
All right, that's a smart man right there. Smart man right there. Okay, Trev, thank you, brother. I appreciate the time. Great catching up with you and talking some Lakers basketball. For everyone that's watching, thank you for watching the show. Please subscribe to Lakers Nation, Trevor Lane over there, and subscribe to Hoops Talk as well. Appreciate you guys hanging out, and we'll get back with you guys soon. Thanks, Laker fans.